We are back. It is a mock draft Monday. I'm back from the honeymoon, and we are here to break down an entire 7 rounds of San Francisco 49er draft strategy for you here on 49ers Access. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to tell me which picks you like, which picks you don't. All of it happening live right here on 49ers Access. All right, folks, we are here for version 1 of our likely 4-part, maybe a little more mock draft session we're going to do leading up to the 2025 NFL Draft. Happy to have you along with us as we go through, again, 7 complete rounds of 49er draft strategy. Going to be a lot of picks we like. Going to dive into, again, that draft strategy, some sleeper picks late in day 3 of the NFL Draft, and I'll give you some of my quote-unquote perfect fits of the 2025 NFL Draft class for the San Francisco 49ers. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, put your comments in the live comment section. I want to react to my picks and the picks on the Pro Football Focus draft board as they go along. But without further ado, let's discuss the Niners draft strategy on day number 1. They have 11 picks going into the 2025 NFL Draft. That's a lot. I think it's tied for the most of any team in the NFL. So a lot to like, a lot of moves they can make, a lot of moves they can either trade up for, trade down. The Niners really do possess a lot of, I guess you can say, many paths they can take in the draft process. They have the position to go up in the draft to take players they like. They can be a little more advantageous, if you will, on day number 2, which seems to be the bigger day of the draft this year. But other than that, 11 picks, a lot of holes they have to fill. Defensive line is a complete and utter disaster currently. It's Nick Bosa and not really much else along the defensive line. They have Robert Saleh back. The secondary is somewhat in place. You have 2 safeties you like. You like your cornerback room a lot. You have Lenore, you have Bernardo Green, but a lot of that focus is going to be on how does San Francisco fix their defensive line. You have to replace Talanoa Hufanga. You have to replace Trey Greenlaw. You have to find multiple edge rushers. You have to replace Javon Hargrave, Malik Collins. This defense is going to be a massive focus of this year's draft class. And I think the Niners, although a very bold strategy to do so, they tore out the entire floor essentially. The Niners are walking into this draft with not many pieces to work with and many holes to fill, again, on that defensive line. And it's very bold. It's risky. It may not work, but I do think this draft class really does hold a lot of great players. Day 2 will be a massive day for San Francisco. They can win this draft on day 2. Many picks inside the top 100, 4 picks from picks 11, 43, and 75 and 100. Right there, 4 picks inside the top 100. So a lot of moves to make, a lot of good players to hopefully take in this year's draft class, and hopefully many holes to fill on this Niners defense in the 2025 NFL Draft. I want to say, Bobo, I see you there. We're going to have a lot of comments here ready to go, but let's start this thing off with the Tennessee Titans at pick number 1, and let's start the NFL Draft. Let's kick things off as we go. I'll go back up so we can see the picks. Don't worry. You go up the draft board, you can see number 1 overall was Cam Ward. Makes a lot of sense. That feels like kind of the consensus. Surprisingly, although the draft can always be somewhat of a surprise, Will Campbell goes number 2 to the Cleveland Browns. Abdul goes to the New York Giants. Mason Graham, defensive tackle from the Michigan Wolverines, goes number 4 to the Patriots. And Travis Hunter goes number 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Personally, I think it'll be Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, then Abdul Carter, or it'll be Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Mason Graham, then Abdul Carter. I know Abdul Carter is probably the best player in this draft overall. I just think fit-wise with the Browns, they brought back Myles Garrett. Does it make sense to have another edge rusher? Do they trade back? A lot of things can happen inside that top 4 or 5, but as it stands, the Raiders take Ashton Genty. Tyler Warren goes to the New York Jets. Ted McMillan goes 8 to the Carolina Panthers. Cornerback Will Johnson and Jahdae Barron go 9 to the Saints and 10 to the Chicago Bears. And that's where we pick up things at number 11 for the San Francisco 49ers. A lot of talent on the board here. You can look, you can see at the top of PFF's draft board, they have a safety, Malachi Starks from Georgia, linebacker, Jihad Campbell from Alabama. You have tackle, arguably the best tackle, pro-ready tackle in this entire draft class, Armin Membu from Missouri. You have edge rusher Mike Green from Marshall. Other top picks would be James Pierce, Joshua Simmons on the board, Kelvin Banks is there, Walter Nolan's there. This is where I think things get tricky because the Niners today, that being this morning, John Lynch at the NFL owners meeting talked about how they like their right tackle, how they really, really, really does happen to value a lot of the people they currently have. I know fans are going to hate that. They don't like Jake Brendel. They don't really love Colton McKivitz. You like Pooney. Trent Williams is inching towards 37, and you don't really know what's happening at left guard. You have Ben Bart, you have Burford, but you don't really know what's happening there. So you could go Armin Membu from Missouri. I wouldn't hate that pick. I think he'd instantly become your right tackle. Colton McKivitz becomes probably your swing tackle. He can also play guard, but McKivitz would kind of fall down your depth chart. He'd become the Jalen Moore of your depth piece, albeit I don't know if that really helps San Francisco in this case, although they do need to find some tackle depth behind Trent and Colton McKivitz. You can go defense at this case. I am someone that believes edge rusher. I think there's two top guys for me, and then a bunch of, I don't want to say question marks, but it's like there's tiers to this. I think it's Abdul Carter in his own tier. Then it's Mike Green for me. And then it's James Pierce, Ezra Rocco, and others below and beyond. Nick Scorton's in that tier number 3 for me as well. However, a lot of questions about Mike Green's off the field. I don't want to say problems, but some things that are red flags for sure. There was a rumor that came out yesterday, I think it was, that San Francisco was going to host Mike Green for a top 30 visit. I don't hate the idea. Maybe there is some kind of reclamation you can have with Mike Green, although, again, a lot of character issues that we don't know much about, but we know enough about that would make me or someone else take him off the draft board entirely. At this point in time, I don't think there is a like bona fide pick at 11. That said, the Niners, I think, are in a place where they may want to trade back. That the Niners, if they don't value Armin Membu very much, who I think is the number 1 tackle, if you don't count Will Campbell in this draft class, I think teams like the Dolphins, teams like maybe the Bengals, maybe teams like even the Cardinals to a certain degree, probably want to come up and get somebody like that. You have Mike Green, who I think would be a big play for the Bengals. Maybe the Falcons want to come up. I was hoping that Tyler Warren was on the board still, because if that happens, at number 11, if Tyler Warren's there, I am calling the Colts immediately and trying to get a trade done, move back 3 picks. Hopefully you can get a pick on day 2 again with moving back 3 picks from 11 to 14. However, with the trade scenarios currently on the board, I would tell you this. Of the players currently available, people are going to hate this, but I would honestly take Walter Nolan here, and I get it. You hear that name, and you're like, oh, man, okay, cool, whatever. But I don't understand this kind of, I don't want to say dislike, or just more of like this kind of like, whatever, it's Walter Nolan, who cares? Walter Nolan has been one of the best prospects since high school. The number 1 player coming out of high school in his recruiting class. He looked phenomenal last year at Ole Miss. He transferred from Texas A&M, where have had a really awkward time trying to they've had multiple stars, multiple studs at their college. Nobody's kind of panned out so far at the NFL level, or they transferred away to get better. But I love Walter Nolan here. However, with players like Membu on the board, with players like Kenneth Grant and Mike Green, I think it's valuable for San Francisco to entertain trading back here. And with that said, let's see who's on the board to hopefully trade back with. We have currently the Dolphins at 13, the Colts at 14, the Seahawks, which wouldn't happen at 18. The Buccaneers at 19 is really intriguing. The Packers at 23, and the Titans with the 35th pick in round number 2. I wouldn't mind going back with the Colts. I do want to keep things somewhat realistic here. Thus, I'm going to call the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm going to offer them pick 11. I'm going to ask for pick number 19. I'm going to ask for pick 53, and I'm going to ask for a third-round pick, maybe a second-round pick, but probably a third-round pick in next year's draft. This is great to me. Get an extra pick inside that top 100, an extra pick inside that top 55. You add another second-round pick for yourself to hopefully find an edge rusher or a cornerback. The Buccaneers probably want to take, in my belief, likely an edge rusher here. Get Mike Green, get James Pierce Jr. I think this makes the most sense for them. San Francisco moves back to around the 20s, where I think you can still get who you want, at least who I would want in the draft. So I'm going to make this trade back with the Buccaneers. Hopefully it works out. It does. And let's see what happens as the draft progresses. I do want to get to the YouTube chat here because Bobo says we need to draft Miami kicker Andres Borregales with the 11th overall pick. It's not going to happen, obviously, but if the Niners even draft a kicker this year, fire everybody. You saw what happened in the third round. I don't care if it's round 1 or round 7. Don't even sniff the word kicker at all. Please don't. I would hate that. Niners first takes. Aaron, what's going on? He says take Mike Green. I would love to do that, but the character concerns are a big issue for me. I think Mike Green's a great player. Again, on my kind of prospect breakdown I have, my scouting report I have for Mike Green, I have him as my number 2 edge rusher. He's 6'4", 248 pounds, a 91.6 pass rush grade last year, a 90.2 run defense grade, 67 pressures, 17 sacks, a 21% pass rush win rate. He's a freak. He's dense. He's strong. High-end agility. On my notes here, I have havoc-creating defender, a finisher in the sacking game, and has a pass rush plan. A lot of edge rushers in this draft class and interior guys don't have a pass rushing plan. Mike Green has that, and he's a freak athlete. So I would love to draft him at 11, but we didn't do that. I think it's smart to trade back. I think San Francisco at 11 is in a very unique spot for draft leverage. If Membu, Warren, Green is there, I think you're in a good place to trade back. Teams in the late teens are going to want to get ahead of teams like the Cowboys, of the Falcons, of the Cardinals for either a tackle or an edge rusher. We made that move here. Go back to 19, and we are going to now pick where the Buccaneers were initially picking in round number 1, and we also gain a pick 53 in round number 2. Let's move along here, and you see that, as we said, Mike Green goes to the Buccaneers. Cowboys go Jihad Campbell. Colts go Armin Membu from Missouri. Ezra Rocco, again, going back to my point earlier of teams wanting to jump the Falcons to get an edge rusher, Green goes 11. Falcons settle for, although settle is a big word there, for Ezraku from Boston College. Michael Williams goes to the Cardinals at 16. Shamar Stewart goes to the Bengals at 17. And Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia, maybe an edge rusher, goes to the Seahawks at 19. Now, again, San Francisco in an interesting place here where you could really entertain trading down again. I know PFF has the kind of fits or the needs as guard and tackle. I don't see guard being a massive need, nor do I see tackle being like you got to have one. A lot of people think that, if you don't get a tackle in round number 1, it's a mistake. It's ruined the whole draft. They found Dominic Puni in round number 3. Now, this year's tackle class, it feels like there's only like 1 or 2 top tackles here. But I think you can find one of those players in round 2 or 3 compared to round 1. A lot of guards in this class that I think can play for you on day number 3, early on day 3. So I wouldn't stress that where it's like, I cannot believe they didn't take Armin Membu or Will Campbell. They're going to be fine. There's plenty of depth in starting caliber offensive linemen on day 2 in this draft. So the Niners are at pick number 19. But first, the 49ers 2025 asks, what's up, Sterling? I can't find the John Lynch video referring to him talking about the offensive line in Brock Purdy and him being okay with the offensive line. I don't think it was a video. It's just quotes from Nick Wagner and others that were at the owners' meetings today. So no video, but a lot of quotes coming out of the owners' meeting today. But let's go back to the draft board and let's finally make this 19th overall pick via a trade back with the Buccaneers. Now, look, you have to look who's behind you. Now, San Francisco could maybe want to trade back again. You can kind of convince me with maybe the Texans want to go and get Kelvin Banks or they want to get ahead of some things because Joshua Simmons already went, Membu already went. I can see them being aggressive. They just traded Laramie Tunsil away to the Commanders. I can see them wanting to go and get their tackle replacement in this year's draft class and trading up for him, no matter who it is. That said, San Francisco has to improve the defensive line more than anything. And I think the pick here over anybody, over James Pierce Jr., over Kenneth Grant, over Kelvin Banks, really should be Walter Nolan. I think it's a home run pick. You trade back, you get the other second round pick you get from the Buccaneers. I love Walter Nolan so much in the first round. I would take him at 11. I know folks wouldn't do that, but he's so good. He's 6'3", just under 300 pounds, only 21 years old. And the thing with him is he might be the tradesiest defensive tackle in this year's class. I know Mason Graham is great, and he's probably a bona fide star if you can get him. But Walter Nolan can do things that no matter how well-rounded Mason Graham is, Walter Nolan can do things at a higher level, although very different players, mind you. But Walter Nolan feels like there's so much untapped potential, whereas Mason Graham is ahead of the curve as a, I don't want to say project, but as a prospect, the progression level is higher for him. Walter Nolan, 21 years old, former transfer from Texas A&M. He had a 91.6 run defense grade last year, a 75 pass rushing grade, 41 total pressures, 6 sacks, a 12.2% pass rush win rate. He's a rare blend of twitch and power for me. And he brings traits to the table that other defensive tackles don't. You can talk about Derek Harmon here. I would understand that move. You can sell me on maybe a player like Kelvin Banks. I'd understand that too. Although with what San Francisco did, they are comfortable on the offensive line no matter how much you hate that. And I hate it. I'm taking Walter Nolan here at 19. I would love this pick for them. I'd take him at 11. He has the inside-outside versatility like explosive first step, very athletic for his size, really quick hands. The only problem is he doesn't really have a pass rushing plan that is refined, if you will. Sometimes goes into things and is like, I just got to make it up here. And he can because of his size and his athletic ability. However, clean that up, get some good coaching, which you have Chris Kosaric, you have Robert Saleh. He's playing next to Nick Bosa next year if you draft him. It may take him a year or two to be this elite player, but I overwhelmingly believe that while players like Kenneth Grant or Derek Harmon may be more instant impact players, if you believe in Nolan enough and buy into what he can do for you, he's an excellent block shedder, although at times needs to improve it with the hands. I think all of his negatives are teachable, whereas other players here have, you can say, are less athletic, aren't as good when it comes to their traits. And Nolan just is kind of head and shoulders above the rest, maybe outside of Mason Graham when it comes to being the best defensive tackle in this year's draft class. So we got Nolan at pick number 19. I love that for San Francisco. We're back up on the board at pick number 43, and we have pick 53, 75, and 100 coming our way very, very soon. Going back up the board to kind of see who is taken in front of us in the second round. Gray Zabel goes to the Ravens. Interesting move there. Don't love that for them. Derek Harmon goes to the Bills. Marion Hampton goes to the Browns. Shedeur Sanders goes to the Giants. Alec Ayomanor from Stanford goes to the Jaguars. Jack Beck goes to the Bears, receiver out of TCU. And Princely Umanmielen from Ole Miss, Walter Nolan's teammate, goes 2 picks ahead of us to the Chicago Bears. I love Nolan. I really, really, really want to pair him with somebody else on the defensive line here, but I think it's important to realize that the Niners, they're in a place where they need 2 defensive tackles, 2 starting defensive tackles. They need an edge rusher, a starting edge rusher, but they need to draft players that, yes, have upside, but also have a high floor. They have to be able to be on the field consistently, but also they have to have a high floor. The last thing you want is Solomon Thomas, as Tommy Huxley says here, or you don't want to have these, high ceiling players, but have no floor at all. That's where their strategy of gutting the roster per se is a massive issue. Because if you do that and you have high ceiling, but no floor, you're going to have the up and down, and it's like, oh God, like you don't know what you're getting any given Sunday. I think San Francisco at pick 43, I have the perfect fit for that strategy, but for the sake of conversation, let's entertain the idea of Jaden Higgins from Ohio State. I know San Francisco may not need a receiver anymore. You have Aiyuk, who will eventually come back healthy, but you have Pearsall, you have Jawan Jennings, you just signed Demarcus Robinson. You don't mind that room too much. I think they're okay with the room. They'll probably draft somebody who we'll probably draft later, but excuse me. I got sick in Japan, so forgive me here. That said, I love Jaden Higgins a lot. I think it's too early for a player like Jalen Noel or Savion Williams. You can talk about maybe linebacker, but I don't think it's really worth drafting Demetrius Knight at 43. I have other linebackers ahead of him on my board. If I'm San Francisco, I am keying in on 2 players here. One, you can talk about maybe CJ West, who's a run-stuffing defensive tackle from Indiana, who I like a lot, who I think is really hard to kind of not want to pair with Nolan. Have 2 really good run defenders on your team on the interior, which this team has been terrible when it comes to run defense the last couple years or so. You could maybe talk about drafting Trey Amos or Maxwell Harrison from Kentucky and Mississippi to kind of have a really good secondary with your cornerback group. But I think when you look at this team, you got to go defensive line. And I'm looking towards the edge. You have the guy next to Nick Bosa. But what about the guy opposite Nick Bosa next year? Right now, it's Yetur Gross-Matos. I don't like that. You don't like that. Nobody likes that. He's a depth piece for this team, which is fine. But when you talk about what this team needs, it's got to be a high floor edge rusher opposite Nick Bosa. They're probably going to draft 2 of them this year, as they should. When you talk about a player like Landon Jackson, he went viral a couple years ago, I think when he was in high school. They were slapping the pads. I don't know what the drill is called, but he did it very non-athletically is how I'll put it. And he got a lot of flack for it. People kind of forgot who he was, but went to Arkansas, and he's been tremendous. 6'5", 270 pounds, a senior, a 72.2 pass rush grade this past year, an 88.7 run defense grade, 39 pressures, 6.5 sacks, 11.5 pass rush win rate. There is some injury concerns with him. Tore his ACL in high school and hurt his ACL again in college, although didn't tear it again. Just kind of re-aggravated the injury. But he's got the length. He's a dense mother effer, if you will. He's strong. He wants the wreck shop. He is that bull in a China shop play style where you're like, oh my God, watch out. He's firing on all cylinders. He's got massive, strong hands. He'll stack and shed in the running game. Sometimes the pad level can be a little too high. He'll play a little too high for my liking, but he does kind of lack in short areas, agility, which makes it hard for kind of quick pivots and counter moves. But I do think that getting with Prisco Sarek, you like it a lot. But although I wouldn't mind that pick, I think there is a better player on the board currently that I think Niner fans really need to familiarize themselves with the pick at 43, and that is JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State. Yes, another Ohio State edge rusher. He is head and shoulders above Braden Swinson to me and Jack Sawyer and other edge rushers on the board currently. You can argue that his ceiling may not be as high as Landon Jackson's, but I can argue the way he plays fits San Francisco's needs much more. He's 6'4", 270 pounds, similar size to Landon Jackson, a 77.5 pass rushing grade this past year at Ohio State, an 87.5 run defense grade, sets a hard edge. He had 47 pressures, 14 sacks, 11.8 pass rush win rate, played over 1,300 snaps at Ohio State. And this is a player that, again, doesn't have the high ceiling, but he does all the little things right that makes you say, oh, he might be boring, but he might just be the right player for the San Francisco 49ers. Tons of effort. Isn't the most creative pass rusher, but again, boring, high effort, consistent, has heavy hands. He's played against top tackles around the NFL or in college as well. When you talk about what you don't need Drake Jackson. You don't need Solomon Thomas. You need a guy that's been proven to be one of the best players and one of the best defenses in the country the last couple years. That is JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State. He is reliable. He's got power. He's got size. He has the makeup of a 10-year NFL pro. He just looks like one of those guys. He plays like one of those guys. And he is someone that protects the goal line with his life. With his life. The last thing he ever wants to do is allow touchdowns. I want that kind of mentality on my defense. May not be a game changer, may not be a game wrecker. That's why Nick Bosa's there. But you give me all reliable across from him, oh my goodness. You then have a high floor defensive edge rusher opposite Nick Bosa, who's healthy and plays the game right. And it also helps really good against the run and also into Ohio State. So at pick 43, I'm going to pick JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State. Let's move on now, and hopefully we can find a better player in the secondary. In the secondary, I think, is the move here at pick 53, the pick we got via the trade back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You can maybe sell me on Quinshon Judkins here, Ohio State running back. You can maybe sell me on a player like CJ West again and get the interior fixed, Travion Henderson. But I think for San Francisco, although you can probably trade back here, players are going to want Demetrius Knight, Cam Scatterbo. I cannot tell you how much I do not understand, especially in Kyle Shanahan's offense, knowing you have Luke Farrell, knowing you have Kyle Juszczyk back. I get you lost Jordan Mason via a trade. I don't really get the hype around Cam Scatterbo in a Niner offense. I get it's cool. He's that kind of Mike Allstott, if you will, kind of player, just runs right through you. I get all those things, but I don't really want Cam Scatterbo to be a San Francisco 49er. The linebacker conversation doesn't start for me here. But on the Niners at pick 53 via trade back, I'm going to the cornerback room to see who's out there. You can look at the people who were picked ahead of us. Donovan Jackson got picked, Jaden Higgins, Braden Swenson. The guy who I love a lot from Florida State is Azare Thomas, who went to the Falcons here. I think he's a phenomenal cornerback. I would love that pick for San Francisco. If he's not there, maybe you can sell me on Benjamin Morris, who dealt with a really serious injury from Notre Dame. And although you want to see him get healthy before you draft him, I think could be a good player in the NFL. Maybe you talk about Trey Amos, who I think would be a really good pick. Excellent zone coverage player, a 78.9 zone coverage grade, an above 20% forced completion rate the last 3 seasons. That's phenomenal. 81 run defense grade. Isn't really an elite athlete, but does everything really well. Kind of a jack of all trades kind of player. He has fluid hips. He has a long speed, being a former track runner. Not the strongest guy, and when he tackles, will lunge at times, but I think would fit San Francisco's defense extremely well. That said, you don't really love a lot of players here, but if I'm the Niners and I want to bulk up my defense, I'm looking at, because you pick at you pick at 75. There's players like Joshua Farmer, players like Jordan Birch, Alfred Collins, CJ West. You want to beef up your interior. I could really see San Francisco double dipping here on the defensive line. And while you can sell me on the idea of CJ West, I'm looking at Jordan Birch from Oregon, and he's one of those players. When I talked about perfect fits for a Robert Saleh defense, Jordan Birch comes to mind. He's 6'5", 295 pounds, 81.3 pass rushing grade, a 68.1 run defense grade, 34 pressures, 10 sacks, a 16.3 pass rush win rate, was a defensive tackle in high school. The highest rated prospect coming out of South Carolina since Jadeveon Clowney. Doesn't have crazy length, but he's stout and a compact player. He's one dense mother effer. You ain't going to move Jordan Birch on the interior or on the outside, which gives you the inside-outside versatility that Saleh really loves. I think you can pair him with Yetur Gross-Matos, put him in a NASCAR package when you have 5 down defensive linemen. I think that he has heavy hammering hands. He'll throw blockers around. I would love Jordan Birch. I know you may want to reach for a player like CJ West or Travion Henderson. Oh, they're explosive. They're bowling balls. They're great run defenders. I think Jordan Birch is the perfect fit for this defense, hence why we're going 3 straight picks. We're fixing the defensive line here out there in San Francisco. Jordan Birch is the pick. Probably a reach here, but I do want to make sure I get him in this defense because looking at the draft board, edge rusher really sits at right now. It's Jack Sawyer, who I don't love. I don't love Jared Ivey either. Kyle Kennard's okay. Josiah Stewart is pretty small for my liking. Jordan Birch is the next kind of Niner archetype edge rusher, and I want to make sure I get him here because, look, teams like the Packers, the Chiefs, the Texans, the Chiefs picked twice here. So you got to make sure you get your guys when you can. I'm going Jordan Birch from Oregon at pick 53. All right, moving along here to pick 75. Let's see who's on the board for the San Francisco 49ers because a lot of guys still here. See, CJ West didn't go till pick 74. Jack Sawyer, Josiah Stewart, Shamar Turner, Jared Ivey all go within about 6 picks. And the Chiefs double dipped, took Kennard and Ivey. So I think we're making the right picks here, depending on how PFF sees it. But you're at pick 75. You can maybe start to have that conversation about a receiver. You like Jalen Noel here. You don't pick until pick 100. I think maybe you start to have the tight end conversation. Harold Fannon's here, who go into Bowling Green. They love him a lot out there in San Francisco. I like him a lot. But again, you got to fix your defensive line, right? That's what we're doing here. I think San Francisco should, again, go defensive line, go berserk, and really remake their entire defensive line in their first 3 or 4 picks. If I'm San Francisco, I'm looking at Joshua Farmer, who isn't the best run defending defensive lineman, 6'2", 315 pounds, a 71.4 pass rushing grade, 27 pressures, a 61 run defense grade, 6 sacks, a 9.9, nearly a 10% pass rush win rate, 12 run stops last year, a strong player. He fights and finishes through contact, explosive off the ball, has a high motor. He has the archetype to be an every down player. If you want to go further to the interior, you can go to maybe a player like Jordan Phillips from Maryland, who very similar archetype to Joshua Farmer. One's 6'2", one is 6'1", one's 315, one's 318. Jordan Phillips is probably half the athlete that Farmer is, which I think may lean San Francisco pushing one direction. If you want to go on the interior offensive line, I would love if San Francisco took Jonah. I think was it Savinea from Arizona. I love that move too. I think he'd instantly be your either left guard or right guard, can also play tackle. I love that for San Francisco. I think Charles Grant could be in play in here. He can kind of be your eventual Trent Williams hopeful replacement next year if he retires, or in 2 years' time. He'll 1,000% be your Colton McKivitz replacement next year when his contract's up. But I think it's too early for him when it comes to PFF's draft board, which, keep in mind, the PFF draft board is really just one player's prospect ranking. So don't get too carried away. A lot of players on here that are likely going to be gone by the time they're taken today and on other draft boards. So don't get too carried away with that. I, for one, believe that players like Farmer go earlier than this. Knoll probably goes earlier than this. Savinea probably goes earlier than this. Even maybe Charles Grant, you can argue maybe a player like Harold Fanning goes earlier than this. But for San Francisco's sake, I think let's look at the tight ends. They got Luke Farrell. They have George Kittle. You want to get your guy. Mason Taylor's still here. He probably goes earlier than this too. Terrence Ferguson's there. But for the Niners' sake, I think it's important to get your guys where they fall. Harold Fannin Jr. is there. Can you wait till 100? I'm not sure. You can sell me on Marcus Mumbo from Purdue, but I think, honestly, Jonah Savinea is way better than that. I just don't know how much San Francisco really loves fixing their offensive line in their first 4 picks. I would do this move, hence why it's my mock draft. So I'm going to get a little crazy. I'm going to go with I guess you can say maybe a starting left guard, but projects to kind of be a guard tackle in the NFL. I think he'll be a starter this year if he plays left guard, but also can be your Colton McKivitz replacement if he gets hurt or really isn't brought back next year by the Niners. So Jonah Savinea is going to be the pick here. I want to give you a rundown on him because he's 6'5", 336 pounds, allowed 15 pressures last year, 4 sacks, in 478 pass snaps. So a lot of pass blocking snaps, really good player, very balanced player, good grip strength. He'll keep blockers in front of him or defenders in front of him, agile feet. He'll be a puller. He can pick up stunts and loopers. He has the high motor. I think he fits in a wide zone scheme like San Francisco runs. And unlike Marcus Mumbo, who's a hyper athlete from Purdue, I think Savinea has the anchor you like. He has the grip strength you like. Mumbo lacks a lot of that kind of refinement. His body, although he's an athlete, he's super light on his feet, doesn't have the anchor. I want to get Jonah, again, I believe it's Savinea from Arizona, be my left guard, potential right tackle of the future from Arizona. Let's make that pick. The pick is done. Moving on to pick 100. I think you're in a good spot here. You didn't get players like Charles Grant, so good thing we got Savinea there. Makuba went from Texas to the Eagles. They have Blankenship and Makuba. That's not fun. Wyatt Millam went to the Texans. Jalen Knoll and Jalen Royals also going to the Chargers and the Packers. Mumbo goes to the Steelers. I think you're in a good spot, though, for San Francisco. I think we like all our picks so far. I think you can either go Savion Williams here, but I think they're trying to get away from the Deebo Samuel stuff. So I kind of think this is a no-brainer. Get your Harold Fannin Jr. You pick in 13 picks. You can go get your cornerback or your receiver there. So let's go Harold Fannin Jr., arguably the third best receiving tight end in this entire class. I think there's a reason why San Francisco likes him so much. There's a reason as to why. If you look at his prospect kind of bio, the way he's made and played, 6'3", 230 pounds, 100 catches last year for 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns, 12 contested catches, 64 receiving first downs, 32 catches for 15 plus yards. He is a receiving machine, and he was the entirety of Bowling Green's offense. He can line up anywhere in the backfield. He had 56 snaps in the backfield, 526 snaps in line, 320 in the slot, and 180 lined up outside. He has these long strides that eat up space. He'll get downfield quickly. He's a receiving machine. Doesn't have the kind of short area explosiveness you like. Isn't the most lateral, I guess you can say. He doesn't possess lateral agility you like from tight ends, but he's really a big slot receiver. And I think for San Francisco, all that's great, but we all know no block, no rock. 75.2 run blocking grade last year. He wants to block. He likes to block. Maybe a little too small to be a true inline tight end, but he blocks his arse off. And he's an aggressive receiver at the catch point. He would give San Francisco finally a bona fide number 2 receiving tight end. I would love this pick for San Francisco, getting him at 100 for them, adding maybe instead of a receiver, a really good number 2 tight end that may be a receiver in the NFL as kind of a big slot guy. I think makes the most sense in the world. So that's the pick. Harold Fannin Jr., tight end from Bowling Green at pick number 100. All righty, let's see what else is on the board for the 49ers at pick 113. Do we have any YouTube comments here? Let's see what we got here on the board. A lot of Tommy Huxley, a lot of 49er 2025. I get it. You like Burford. All that's great and whatnot. I like Burford too, but he's probably going to be the backup left guard, backup left tackle. That probably goes back to the Savannah conversation we were having. But let's take a look at who's here. Pick 13. Jamari Caldwell went. The Niners seemingly love Oluwafemi Oladejo from UCLA. They are like infatuated with him. Jeffrey Bosa from Oregon goes to the Giants. Savion Williams goes to the Lions. A big move by them. But I like what we have here so far. Through picks 113, we have Walter Nolan, JT Tuimoloau, Jordan Birch, Jonas Savaiinaea, and Harold Fannin Jr. We're in a good place here. Looking at the draft board, you could kind of pitch me on 2 players here. Jacob Parrish, Kansas State cornerback, or Kobe Bryant. Maybe you start to have the conversation about running back at this place if you are the 49ers. Jaden Blue and Bayshal Tuden, from Virginia Tech. Both those guys are great. I would love to get Tuden in San Francisco. I think it may be a little too early, but we know San Francisco loves to make moves maybe a little earlier than expected. Nobody thought it would be Joe Williams and CJ Beathard in recent years. Ricky Pearsall, right? So they don't mind liking a player and making a move. I think this is a good spot to kind of shore up your cornerback room. You brought in Trey Brown. You have Lenore. You have Bernardo Green. San Francisco really likes Jacob Parrish from Kansas State. A really, really, really small cornerback, which may not be what you want, knowing Lenore is relatively tiny for the cornerback, but he's really good overall. He's 5'9", 195 pounds, only 21 years old on draft night, that being Jacob Parrish from Kansas State right here on your screen. a 77.4 zone coverage grade, a 64.6 man coverage grade. Probably not going to be a man coverage corner for you in the NFL, but he had 9 forced incompletions, 1 interception last year, but 5 since 2023. 71.4 run defense grade, so really stout run defender. The size is certainly concerning. Under 5'10", under 200 pounds. Don't love that. But when you talk about being, I don't want to say sticky, but he is a nuisance. He is annoying. And in every good way possible. He's like the gnat you find in your bedroom at night, and it keeps you up, and you're like, my God, where'd you come from? You hear the buzzing, it's near your face. You're like, I got to get this thing out of my room so I can have a good night's sleep. That is Jacob Parrish. He will piss off receivers. He'll make them frustrated. He is dense as a you-know-whatter. He's got quick hips. He's sticky in coverage. Ironically, for a 5'9" player, primarily plays outside, but also at 150 snaps in the slot. This past year at Kansas State, he'll probably be a nickelback at the NFL level. He probably has to be due to his size, but also a good tackler. So I can see San Francisco going that route. That said, when you talk about annoying players, talk about players you're just like, God, like this cornerback is just maybe he's one of those players that when he's on your team, you love him to death. Kind of like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for the Eagles and in previous years the Saints and whatnot. But like when he's on your team, you love it. When he's on the opposing team, he's like your least favorite player. I go back to Chauncey Gardner-Johnson on the Lions during the playoff game. He's talking all this mess for a whole half, and obviously things against San Francisco didn't go their way when it was over with. But, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, he's a difference maker with his play at times, but with his mouth, he will certainly change the game for multiple different reasons. But I think Kobe Bryant, cornerback from Kansas, makes a lot of sense for San Francisco here. He's 5'10", 180 pounds, really thin cornerback, but he has better size, about 1 inch of height, which actually matters in the NFL, surprisingly, at cornerback. He has long arms that you love. He can make plays. He's sticky in man coverage. He's a cornerback that makes receivers earn every single yard. He wants to fight every single play in a good way. He's feisty. He has a killer instinct. Very opportunistic player where whether it's PBUs, interceptions, tackles, cutting off passes, being physical. He's a player that wants you to know he's locking you down. He's a cornerback that really wants you to know that I'm in your back pocket. You're not getting by me, and I'm going to take control over you as a player. I have in my notes, he's a grade A crap talker. Yeah, he's going to be in your face all day long. I really wish DK Metcalf was still in Seattle because Kobe Bryant would have a field day with him. I would not be shocked to watch teams like the Bengals or teams like the Ravens, the Steelers not the Steelers, but the Bengals, the Browns, the Ravens take Kobe Bryant simply just to piss off DK Metcalf out there in Pittsburgh. And also, he'll get his hands dirty. I think Kobe Bryant and Parrish are two really good fits for San Francisco. I'd argue I'd probably lean towards Kobe Bryant in this case, hence why I think they'll take him here. But you can argue Jacob Parrish, but I really think Kobe Bryant is just the typical, like, get him with Lenore, who loves to talk crap. You're going to have one talkative, annoying, pesky, frustrating cornerback group to go against. And then you also have Trey Brown, Darrell Luter Jr., where if Bryant needs to kind of get his body in order, it's not going to be, a bad thing if he doesn't play for 1 year. It's pick 113. It's not that big of a deal. So I'd take Kobe Bryant. I think the upside is bigger than Parrish, but I can easily see Parrish going here as well. But let's take Kobe Bryant, cornerback from Kansas, at pick 113. We have a question from the 49ers 2025. They say, how many offensive line do you see the Niners drafting? How many undrafted offensive linemen? So The Niners currently have what? Trent Williams, Ben Barch, Spencer Burford, Jake Brendel, Matt Hennessy, Nick Zakel, Dominic Pooney, Colton McKivitz. They got to find a tackle somewhere, hence why I took Sabanea, who can play guard and tackle. I think you have Zakel, who will probably play with Barch as the left guard and compete there. You have Burford. I don't think they need to take so many offensive linemen. I could honestly see them drafting just one. And that may sound crazy, but I think just one offensive lineman would be fine. Now, people are going to hate that, and I get it, but I'm basing that off what they feel about their own guys in the room. They scouted Zakel for 5 years in college. They're going to give him a chance to win that job at left guard. They like Ben Barch a lot for good reasons. They like Burford from a 4th-round pick out of UTSA. He'll probably be your left tackle backup next year, maybe your backup left guard, depending on how things go. Hennessy was signed to a 2-year deal last year, so on a 1-year deal here. He was a former starting center. They like Brendel a lot for whatever that's worth. They like Pooney for obvious reasons. And you have McKivitz. I could honestly see them only taking one offensive lineman, whether it is round 1, which I wouldn't do. But I think day 2, round 2 or 3, I think Charles Grant makes a lot of sense. Maybe you can sell me on Jackson Slater from Sac State. Incredible 10-yard split. That could make some sense on day 3. Maybe later day 2, but I really only see them dipping their toe in the offensive line pond just once in this draft, which I think makes sense knowing how many defensive players they cut. Many defensive players they cut this offseason. Floyd, Collins, you could maybe discuss. You lost Hufanga, you lost Greenlaw, which, you lose all those players, you have to replace them somewhere. So now at pick 138, looking at the board, it looked like a lot of the running backs have gone off the board. Let's see. Jaden Blue goes to the Broncos. Love that for them. Bayshal Tootin goes to the Saints. That's interesting for them. You can argue if you're the Niners and say you like Sabanea as a guard. Chase Lunt is the prototypical Niners tackle. You look at his profile here on PFF, see if you can see it. Excellent zone coverage grade, or zone blocking grade, excuse me. It just fits what they want to do. You go to his first look, 6'8", 305, doesn't really have the arm length that you love, which, funny enough, is a San Francisco 49er specialty. He has the height, but, he may be one of the kind of better fits for the 49ers as a tackle in the NFL draft. I think he fits that kind of wide zone scheme they want to run, albeit San Francisco has somewhat gotten away from that in recent years. You can sell me on that. If you want to go on the interior, let's see here on the PFF draft board remaining. You can maybe talk about Tyler Cooper. I don't really love Jake Majors from Texas, although he's a center. I do like Dylan Fairchild quite a bit, but I think a lot of that's a stretch for me. I think San Francisco is pretty much done, depending on who falls in the draft. When you talk about maybe a safety here, Billy Bowman Jr. from Oklahoma, which Boomer Sooner, baby, would love that, albeit a 25% missed tackle rate. Oh my God. Like, how? Why? Like, that's terrifying to look at. I don't think San Francisco needs a quarterback. And when I talk about quarterbacks for a second, like, Quinn Ewers is still here. Kyle McCord is still here. Tyler Shaw is still here. These 3 guys are probably going to go late day 2. And we're in round 4 here, but like, we're talking like Will Howard went before Ewers and McCord and Shaw. Like, other guys are going to fall down the draft board because quarterbacks are going to go. So, like, again, it's not a perfect concept, but for what we have in front of us, if you look at our picks so far, we've gone defensive line 3 different times. We've gone cornerback. We have a tight end. We have our guard and tackle. This is kind of the luxury pick, I think, for San Francisco. You can talk about receiver here. Like Kyle Williams from Washington State is clearly going to go way before this. Oops, not Pat Bryant, who I also like, but he's clearly going to go before this pick. I would not be shocked to watch the Rams draft. To me, fits the Niners offense and what the Rams really want. As kind of the oh my goodness, the Cooper Kupp replacement, kind of the big X wide receiver. I could see that. I don't really like Trevor Etienne from Georgia. I don't love that. There isn't really a lot of great players here. I think it's too early for a player like Kyle Monangai, but I really like him. I think if you're looking for the best bang for your buck, you can probably go Chase Lunt from UConn. Might be the best pick on the board currently. Benjamin Urasek, I think, had they not brought back Kyle Juszczyk, made a ton of sense for them. But now that Juszczyk is back for 2 more years, don't love that. I do like myself some Kalel Mullings from Michigan. There really isn't a lot of great talent on the board. I'm like, yep, gotta have it. Don't want Brashard Smith. Don't want Jarquez Hunter. Don't want Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt from Arizona. Maybe you trade back here. I wouldn't mind that, but you really don't want to net more picks. You already traded back one more time. I think for the sake of argument, let's talk about Pat Bryant for a second, because while I don't know if San Francisco would do this, I think if you're missing Brandon Aiyuk, Juwan Jennings on a 1-year deal, let's not forget that. You had Demarcus Robinson for 2 years, but that can be moved around. You have Pearsall. Pat Bryant is 6'2", 208 pounds, 86 receiving grade last year, an 81.5 grade against man coverage. Had 984 receiving yards, 10 touchdowns. He had 12 deep catches. That's 15 plus yards downfield, I believe. He has 4.6 speed, a 37.5-inch vertical. He's a player that has incredible play strength. He is strong at the catch point. Although isn't the fastest guy, again, 4.6 speed, he's a dog. He wants to get nasty and dirty in his routes. He's a great blocker. He wants to go over the middle. I think he fits I don't want to say the Juwan Jennings archetype when you talk about maybe losing Juwan in a year. I can see Pat Bryant, who is probably an X receiver in the NFL. I can see that being the pick. Maybe you go Kobe Hudson, who I think has tremendous release from UCF, 6'1", 200 pounds. When you talk about maybe a player that could take over Jacob Cowing's role, the only issue is Kobe Hudson had a 10% drop rate. Now, a lot of that's due to UCF having 3 different quarterbacks, but I think that, Kobe Hudson could be in play for San Francisco here. I don't think they're going to go quarterback at all. I think I have a write-up on Kobe King I want to get to just for the linebacker conversation for you guys out there listening and watching on the YouTube. If I can find it here really quickly. I think I have one. Let's see. Maybe I don't. I haven't got to him just yet, but we're working there. We're on our way to Kobe King. I have Cody Simon, not Cody King, excuse me. But I think, Pat Bryant makes the most sense for me here. Pick 138, go get a receiver. I know it was kind of a long way to get there, but I think it makes the most sense. You can get a running back later in the draft. Let's take Pat Bryant here, and let's move things along quickly here in the 4th round. Let's see who's gone. If Chase Lunt goes, Kobe Hudson goes. Probably a good pick for San Francisco. I think this is where they get a little advantageous. You can maybe sell me on Kalel Mullings here, running back out of Michigan, who actually I really do like a lot for this pick. He is 6'2", 230 pounds. He had 948 yards and 657 yards after contact, 37 forced missed tackles, 12 rushing touchdowns, and 16 explosive runs of 10-plus yards. Former linebacker, he has that mentality, wants to lay some wood, only a running back for 2 years, so plenty of room to grow once he gets experience. He is someone that surprisingly, and maybe it goes back to his linebacker background, knows how to read the line of scrimmage. He has good running vision, doesn't fumble, north to south runner. He wants to get physical. With that in mind, again, no real experience, only 2 years at running back, doesn't really have the patience so far. He's probably a project kind of player, sit behind Garendo and Chris McCaffrey. If you want kind of a day one impact player, I think Kyle Monangai makes the most sense. I'm okay reaching for him, knowing that I can probably get him later, but I think Kyle Monangai projects to be a much better NFL running back than Khalil Mullings. And you have Jarquez Hunter, who I think can make the most sense. So you have Taj Brooks from Texas Tech. You have Woody Marks from USC. But Kyle Monangai is just phenomenal. I don't know. Like, if you don't know Kyle Monangai, 5'8", 211 pounds. He's a walking protein bar. He's tremendous. Over 1,200 yards, 860 after contact, 66 forced missed tackles, 33 explosive runs of 10 plus yards, 78.2 rushing grade, 75.4 zone rushing grade. He's a human pinball. He can play in any scheme against any defense. He's a dog. And the great thing about this is, while he isn't the fastest guy, and although he may be the biggest guy, he doesn't fumble. In 670 career carries, zero fumbles at Rutgers. Incredible high floor guy, lower ceiling, but I think when you talk about Jordan Mason replacing or a replacement for Jordan Mason, Kyle Monangai makes a ton of sense. I'll take him here. Probably a reach, but I don't mind reaching for a player like Kyle Monangai, who I think can be a really good player for you on round 5 in the NFL draft. Moving along to pick 160, still a lot of good players here. I think now is where you maybe start to have the conversation regarding linebacker. I think it makes the most sense. You can maybe start to dive into the interior offensive line. A lot of good ones still here. Seth McLaughlin, Connor Colby. If you go to the interior offensive line on PFF, they're going to try to sell you on Dylan Fairchild and Drew Kendall and people like that. Tate Ratledge. I really do like Dylan Fairchild. They have him ranked 196. We don't pick until 227. I would not mind making this. He'd be the guard for you. He has an 87 pass blocking grade, a 76.6 zone blocking grade. Out of Georgia. He's 6'5", 315 pounds, only 9 pressures allowed last year, 1 sack allowed, and 536 pass blocking snaps, primarily left guard. So maybe he becomes your left guard and Savannah becomes the eventual McKivitz replacement where you're like, okay, the floor is raised again. Maybe you can trade somebody away. Moves well. Doesn't really have the anchor that you want to kind of survive through contact, but he can pull. He'll lunge at times. So again, maybe kind of sitting behind Birch for a year isn't that big of a deal. But I think round 5 for a player like Dylan Fairchild's makeup, he's one of the few guys that actually fits that kind of wide zone scheme San Francisco runs out there with Kyle Shanahan's offense. Also, really strong. Doesn't have the anchor, but he's really strong. 440 on bench press and 570 pounds for the squat. I would be jumping for joy if San Francisco drafted Dylan Fairchild, guard, out of Georgia. I know I said they're probably going to take one guy, but the board falls as it falls. Let's go Dylan Fairchild, guard from Georgia. There's some work to be done, but that's why you have coaches. If he gets his body right again, improves the anchor, he's got good size, he has his experience, he's played against good talent in the SEC. So I am going Dylan Fairchild, maybe a reach, but again, you don't pick for about 50 more picks. So, or actually 67 more picks. So get your guy when you can. Go Dylan Fairchild here and get maybe your left guard of the future once Barch is done or Burford leaves in free agency. You already got Savannah. You're kind of looking towards the future of younger players taking over in the next couple years or so on your offensive line to protect Brock Purdy and keep the momentum and success rolling out there with your offense. All right, you can relax, sit back. In the meantime, I want to let you know, use our promo code 49ers Access, 49 ERS ACCESS at SeatGeek.com to save yourself $20 off your first purchase. You can also click that link down below and get yourself a can of goat fuel to fuel like the goat yourself. Get 10% off your purchase down below. Click that link and get yourself a can of goat fuel. Niner Media says here, hey Sterling, welcome back from Japan. Hope you had a great trip. Japan was absolutely incredible. I myself had never been out of the country before. It's a lot of work. It's a long process, but I loved it. Great country, great people, welcoming the tourists. The food was tremendous. The atmosphere is great. It snowed, rained, and was sunny on us in a 4-day period. It was awesome. If you can survive the 13 plus hour plane ride across the ocean to get there, I would do it in a heartbeat. Went to Disneyland for a day. It can be a little chaotic, but I really, really, really loved Japan. Again, having not been out of the U.S. before, you can argue it is my second favorite country now of all time. But it was great stuff. Loved it. The food was great. People are great. I would go back again. Sushi was oddly not great, but the gyoza was phenomenal. And the breakfast at places like Cacto and others, and the ramen was just, oh my God. My wife came back and was like, honey, we're making ramen. I was like, okay, do your best. It wasn't like Japan, but man, oh man, oh man. Man, I loved Japan. Okay, we're back at pick 227. 3 more picks. I think you can maybe address linebacker here. You can maybe address safety here. You can maybe kind of talk about defense again, but we've already gotten 3 defensive linemen in our first 3 picks. Is that enough? I'm not sure. For me, maybe you got 3 high-end guys, in my opinion. You can maybe talk about the edge rushing group, but I don't really love a lot of these guys here. Not many guys left in the draft. I think you start to address linebacker and safety. I think safety has probably some of your higher-end people on the board still, like R.J. Mickens from Clemson. I have written up on him, if I can get to him in a second for you. If I can find it really quickly here. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds. He has 30 career starts and 60 career games over his time at Clemson. I think it's the second most games in Clemson history as a player or as a starter. I'm not sure about that. I think that's correct, though. 89.8 coverage grade, a 69.2 run defense grade, 7 forced incompletions, a 24.1 forced incompletion rate, 9 coverage stops. Doesn't really have the free safety archetype, doesn't have fluid hips, doesn't really have the athleticism you like to play free safety. And really isn't the single high safety you want. That probably goes to Malik Mustafa on San Francisco's defense, but he's that box safety, which San Francisco loves. He can kind of be a bigger slot cornerback for you, if you will. He'll lock up tight ends. He has over 600 snaps in the box. Great tackler, wants to play towards the line of scrimmage. He also has long arms too. He can kind of shade out and get into passing lanes pretty well. I like RJ Mickens a lot. You can maybe talk about Malachi Moore from Alabama. 6 foot, 201 pounds. Last year had 69 tackles, 20 defensive run stops, which means negative or 0 yards on a tackle. 7 pass blocks, 3 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions, 1 sack. He's a player that doesn't have the play strength you want against bigger blockers, isn't a high-end athlete. His traits aren't going to blow you away, but he's kind of a steady player and has tremendous ball skills. Good eyes for the football, always finds himself towards the football, and also can diagnose the run extremely well. Again, when you play at Clemson and Alabama, although there hasn't been the most success taking safeties and defensive backs from those colleges in recent years, I think Moore and Mickens make plenty of sense for San Francisco. You can maybe get into a conversation at cornerback, but I don't love that here. You already took Kobe Bryant. Um, Mac McWilliams is actually a pretty good player who I wouldn't mind San Francisco taking, albeit I think he'd be long gone by day 3, or at least early day 3. Um, you look at who's here, like Woody Marks is here if you want to double dip at receiver or at running back, excuse me. I actually wouldn't mind that for the 49ers, knowing you have McCaffrey, we have Monungai and Grendo and Patrick Taylor. I don't love Israel Abanikanda, um, but Woody Marks is actually really good. Um, he is an interesting player. He's 5'10 at 200 pounds, over 1,100 yards last year, 607 after contact, 30 forced missed tackles, 9 touchdowns, 37 explosive plays as a runner. He has great speed, has that track background you love. His straight line speed isn't really creative as a runner, but once he gets into space, it's like, oh crap, he's gone. You can argue he's kind of a receiver at the NFL level. He'll take hits. He's comfortable in space. Third down pass catching back, I think, is like a check mark he already has. Over 261 collegiate receptions. I think it'd be a big get. He also likes to pass block. Now, Kyle Monungai loves to pass block. Woody Marks will do that for you. That being here, Jaquavius Marks from USC. That said, I really think the pick here is probably a player like RJ Mickens. He fits San Francisco. What they want to do at safety. Funny enough, he's ranked 227. We're picking at 227. I would go RJ Mickens here. Good coverage player, but also can play in the box. Can kind of be a bigger slot cornerback for you, if you will, against tight ends and a bigger receiver like, Jawan Jennings or Puka Nacua or whoever else they play against this year in 2025. So you add to your safety room. I like that a ton. You're here. You got 2 more picks. They're 3 picks apart. I think you can honestly double dip probably at linebacker here. Nicholas Martin is here at 2. He's ranked 274. He shouldn't be. He's a lot better than that. I like Nicholas Martin a lot. He's 6 foot, 220 pounds, 49 tackles, 25 defensive stops, 9 pressures, 1 forced fumble, 1 PBU. Coming off a season-ending knee injury, but was incredible in 2023. He had 60 defensive stops. Again, that's negative yards or like no yards to gain. 30 pressures, 6 sacks. He has sideline to sideline speed. He plays fast. He plays quick. Actually can be a really good pass rusher, I think, in the NFL. Doesn't have the ideal length, kind of stubs for arms, so he's not going to get in those passing lanes and clog lanes and make it hard for quarterbacks over the middle. That said, he's just kind of plays like a chicken with his head cut off. He just kind of runs around and is like, who can I hit? Who can I hit? Who can I hit? Which isn't the most refined player in the world, but I think if you're the Niners, you can work with that. He was a team captain, high work ethic, and if you like D. Winters enough to believe in him, I could see them saying you have Warner, you have Winters, you have Bethune, you have Curtis Robinson after the knee injury coming back. I can see them kind of liking that group of 4. Maybe they sign somebody else later down the road. But I do like Nicholas Martin a lot. And I think could fit what San Francisco wants to do on the board. Jalen Walker of Indiana also makes a lot of sense here on his PFF grade. Really good run defender. Pretty good as a coverage player. I think if you look at what he does, he's 6'1", 218 pounds. A lot of games played. 30, 23, 33 the last couple of years. Not a high missed tackle rate. You look at the kind of the people he's played. Great games against Michigan. Good enough game against Ohio State, Notre Dame. Really good against Purdue. Only a 75.7 passer rating allowed, which isn't great per se, but I think could be a player where late in the draft you go, yep, that guy makes a lot of sense for us. I do want to look at for the Niners down the draft board a little bit because I really like what we've done so far overall. That said, like Brew McCoy will be long gone by now. I don't want to take him because of that. Um, I think Mac McWilliams is kind of a steal if he's here at 271. Um, I think you kind of have to take him, or 249, excuse me. Um, he's 5'10", 190 pounds. He's under 30-inch arms and short legs, so short strides, not long arms, could certainly be a problem for you. But he's super explosive in short yardage. He has that kind of slot cornerback change of direction that you like. 84.8 coverage grade, 72.5 against man coverage, and an 80.5 zone coverage grade. Um, a 55.3 passer rating allowed. Great tackler. He can wrap up. He has the fundamentals. He's a relentless cornerback. Doesn't have the physicality, but he's someone that is telling his team, I'm going to force you to take away my job. I want that in my cornerback room. I think he could take Darrell Luter Jr.'s job. I think he will jump up a depth chart pretty quickly simply because may not have the physical tools you love and the traits you love, but overall mentality wise of like, I'm a dog, I'm going to get it. I would love to get him in San Francisco. You have Kobe Bryant. You're not really committed to Trey Brown, but you like him enough. I am taking Mac McWilliams here. Easy pick for me. And to round out our 7-round mock draft, I am going to blow you away with, I don't know how, Sean Dolak is still here. If you're a PFF person, here's the grade you got. Sean Dolak is, man, he's incredible. I think he is going to be a steal of the entire draft. I don't think he'll be here, but for the sake of conversation, if he is here and for whatever reason that may be, everybody loves Jeffrey Bosa for every right reason. Bosa is a great player, good coverage player. Oregon and San Francisco likes him a lot. Could very easily see him being taken, but Sean Dolak needs to be talked about in that Jeffrey Bosa conversation. Hit 125 tackles last year. 125 tackles last year. 2 years ago, had 112 tackles. He had 76 stops. Again, 0 yards gained or negative yards. 76. Dude is just a mauler at the line of scrimmage. He can diagnose plays extremely well. He had 13 defensive stops in one game. Only had a 5% missed tackle rate. Hit a 56.5 passer rating allowed last year. He's got that speed that goes sideline to sideline. He's a guy you want to have on your team. Isn't the flashiest guy, but just finds himself being in the right place at the right time over and over again. Again, it may not be the flashiest guy, but you want him on your team. He's incredible. Incredible. I think if he's there, probably won't be. But if he's there at the last pick of the draft for you, I could easily see him being your linebacker 3 in year 1. I'm taking him over Nicholas Martin. Let's see what PFF has to say on the first edition of our Niners draft board. They didn't like the Jordan Burch pick, but let's recap this entire thing. We initially had pick number 11. We traded back with the Buccaneers, and we got pick 19, a third-round pick next year, and pick 53 in this year's draft. I like that move for San Francisco, and we took defensive tackle Walter Nolan at pick 19. Probably a sweet spot for them. The Buccaneers got Mike Green in exchange, so I think a win-win for both teams. Love that. In round 2 at 43, we got JT Tuimoloau. Pair him with Nick Bosa on the opposite side. A high floor, not a high ceiling guy, but a high floor, very strong, sturdy, give you that baseline starting 10-year veteran makeup you love. Opposite Nick Bosa, get 2 Ohio State Buckeyes out there, then go get your Jordan Burch with the inside-outside versatility. He can get to the quarterback, won't give you too much as a run defender, but I think gives you the versatility you love. He is one of my perfect fits of the draft for the San Francisco 49ers. In round 3, pick 75, after we believed to have fixed our defensive line for at least the moment, going interior, then 2 edge rushers. We went and got Jonah Savaiinaea, tackle slash guard, probably a guard from the University of Arizona. He's probably going to take Colton McKivit's job in the next 2 years or so. And he can also play left guard for you, or maybe right guard if you want to move Purdy over to left guard. As soon as this year, he's going to be a great player. Fits the scheme extremely well. And then later in that third round at pick 100, we took Harold Fannin Jr. Give us that receiving tight end that we want in San Francisco. He'll be that bigger kind of slot receiver for you. You already have Luke Farrell. You have George Kittle. You have Kyle Juszczyk. Give me a tight end. Had over 1,000 yards, double-digit touchdowns, and wants to run block. I love it. I love it. I love it. They like him in San Francisco. In round 4, our first pick in round 4, we go and get our first cornerback of the draft, Coby Bryant from Kansas. He's going to talk your ear off. He'll let you know he's there, and he has the traits to be a starting cornerback if he can add some weight and maintain his physical tools. Love that pick. Now, after pick 113 is where things kind of get tricky because PFF is not going to like these picks, and they're going to say you reached. That said, Aiyuk's out probably for about roughly till mid-November probably. You like Jauan Jennings. You like Pearsall. You don't really know what you have in Cowling, and you like DeMarcus Robinson. But Pat Bryant could maybe eventually be your Jauan Jennings replacement, and in the meantime, be your ex-receiver while Aiyuk is out, or at least be a valuable asset to your team. A bigger receiver, doesn't have speed, 4.6 speed, but at the catch point, those contested catches over the middle, Brock Purdy's bread and butter. Pat Bryant is excellent at that stuff. Next, we go running back here in the 5th round. Kyle Monangai doesn't fumble, bowling ball, goal line runs. Get Kyle Monangai the ball on 3rd downs where it's short yardage. Got to have that pass blocking running back. Kyle Monangai is your dude. He can be the Jordan Mason replacement. Different runners, different players, but ultimately, one of Jordan Mason's biggest downfalls was the fumbling. Kyle Monangai is not going to have that for you at Rutgers. I like that pick. Maybe a little early, but for the players still on the board, I think the best running back available at the time. The next pick, PFF hates it. I'd push back in a big way. I like Dylan Fairchild a ton. Fits the scheme. Interior offensive lineman. I can see him being your left guard as soon as this year, replacing Ben Bartch. And if Ben Bartch goes down, which don't forget, he has a lot of injury history, Dylan Fairchild can beat Nick Zakelj out. He can beat Burford out and be your left guard as soon as this season. The next 3 guys are probably some depth outside of Sean Dolak. RJ Mickens out of Clemson. Kind of that 3rd or 4th safety in your room. Jair Brown is going to bounce back. I'm not sure. You like Richie Grant. You like Jason Pinnock. You don't really have to go safety in this draft. In fact, I probably wouldn't. However, best available player, I like RJ Mickens. Good coverage player. 30 career starts at Clemson. 60 career games. Plays in the box. Line of scrimmage kind of safety. Fits what Saleh wants to do. And also has some upside as a run defender. Now at pick 249 and 252, Mac McWilliams. Short arms, short legs, but never short of heart out of UCF. It's not an easy pick to make. He's probably not going to be there, but they like the pick. I like the pick. I think he fits what San Francisco wants to do, kind of going back to the best player available. I get it. There may have been some higher upside players there, but you talk about players that are going to bring the intensity every single day, though they're going to bring that kind of dog mentality. You got 2 of them in that cornerback room now, Coby Bryant and Mac McWilliams. And of course, Sean Dolak, who I think is maybe the most slept on prospect in the entire draft. It sounds crazy, but I think out of Buffalo, Sean Dolak may be the least talked about potential starter in year 1. Probably not going to pass D. Winters, but I think he's good enough to find himself a starting job somewhere in the NFL in year one. He's a valuable player. He's a good leader and a continuous high-performance player at Buffalo. I know you're not replacing Dre Greenlaw. You're not getting your Talanoa Funga guy, but I think San Francisco would look at this draft and say, yes, yes, yes. Our draft in totality, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 defensive players. I think it fits what San Francisco wants to do. You add some offensive help at running back, on the offensive line, at tight end, and I think you'd walk away saying, okay, let's see what this group can do. And I'm not going to lie to you here. Nolan, Tuimoloau, Birch, Savanea, Harold Fannin Jr., and Kobe Bryant, I think could all be starters in year one. In year one. And Dre Area Sports, get that Walter Nolan's not going to be good. Get it out of here. Get it out of here. Walter Nolan is going to be good. He's going to be a tremendous player. May take a year or two. I'll give you that. But Walter Nolan has the makeup. The only question is, only good for 1 year at Texas A&M for a couple years. Didn't work out there. Goes to Ole Miss. Realizes I got to turn things up and looks really good. And look, Javon Hargrave was good, brother. This is not in San Francisco. He was good in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. Younger player. I think he's, and I say this lightly, there's a reason why San Francisco wanted Jonathan Allen, to which degree I don't know. Walter Nolan's NFL projection at the highest end is Jonathan Allen. That may sound crazy, but just I believe that's the case. And that said, I will leave you with the Niners potentially drafting Walter Nolan in the first round via trade back at pick 19. Great value. You also get Jordan Birch to pair with Tuimoloau in the edge group. Tell me what you think down below. Tell me how or who you'd pick instead. Again, the entire draft is Walter Nolan, JT Tuimoloau, Jordan Birch, Jonas Savanea, Harold Fannin Jr., Kobe Bryant, Pat Bryant, Kyle Monangai, Dylan Fairchild, RJ Mickens, Mac McWilliams, and Sean Dolak, linebacker out of Buffalo, rounding things out. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave that review. My name is Sterling Bennett, telling you right now to follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X, 49ers.access is the Instagram. If you're on the audio podcasting platform, give us that 5-star review. Use that promo code 49ersaccess at SeatGeek.com and save yourself $20 off your first purchase. It is finally draft season for this channel, for the show. Stay tuned. So much draft content coming your way. We talked an hour and a half, 7 rounds. How many picks was this? 12 picks for the San Francisco 49ers. You are not going to want to change the channel. You're going to want to stay here, subscribe, and like this episode because we have so much more draft content coming your way in the near future, leading up to draft day in late April. So like, share, subscribe, leave that review. And until next time, my name is Sterling Bennett, who is back from Japan, back from the honeymoon, telling you, as always, until next time, stay faithful.